an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 1, Episode 13, The Parting of Ways. In this episode, Rose, becomes infused with the power of the TARDIS, very nearly dies, and in order to save her, the Doctor has to absorb that power and then cheat death by becoming David Tennant.
Yay!
It's time! Everybody, I know you've all been waiting for the Tennant seasons. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
And I am Jaime.
And did you see that meme recently where they had David Tennant going up against his arch nemesis, David Landlord? And
No.
it was and Landlord was spelled with two N's.
No.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. I should have shared it, but I lost track of it. You know how that is? You find something on Facebook and then it updates in front of your face and you're like, ha! And then it's gone forever. But yeah, so it's stop. Tennant time. And that is, I guess, what the next season... well, I'm not going to ask because of spoilers, but I'm wondering if there's ever a new Doctor in the middle of a season, or if the seasons end with a new Doctor every time, or if they end with a new Doctor every couple seasons, or if it just depends on how good a contract the actor can get, or what.
Couldn't tell ya.
But I guess we'll see.
Everybody knows that you knew that David Tennant was coming.
Mm-hmm.
But did you know when?
No.
Okay.
I think I thought he was further on.
Okay.
And also, David Tennant, everything that I have seen him in, he's only ever been a villain.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's going to have to win me over because right now I think he's a creep.
Here's my little story about getting to this point of Doctor Who. I had only seen David Tennant as Barty Crouch Jr. and I fucking hated him. Thought he was a bad actor.
Worst role in the world.
Yeah. Thought he was maybe the worst actor I'd ever seen. And when I heard that he was the next Doctor after this one, I was like, I think I'm going to be done. I hate him. I hate him. And within 30 seconds, I was like, oh my God, I love him. He won me over immediately. And I can't even explain why. There was just such a charm to the two lines that he has at the end. And I was like, let's watch the next episode right now.
Yeah, I could see that. Those two lines are well delivered.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you. But yeah, he was Barty Crouch Jr. and that's not his fault, but God, that was terrible. And then there's fucking Jessica Jones, in which he plays a rapist, mind control fucking...
Yeah.
He's so good at that role. And it's such a terrifying character.
Wait, have you not... Well, I guess he is kind of a... No, he's not a villain in that. Have you not seen Fright Night? The Fright Night remake?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But he's an asshole.
Yeah.
So he'll still fall under the creep category.
Okay. I'm curious to see how you feel about him as we go on. But the Doctor's not going to be a creep. I guess you can kind of assume that.
I figure,
yeah. And I was very nervous about the Jessica Jones thing because I was like, he's my precious. I can't handle him being a horrible person. And then he was just so great in that role that I was like, I still love you, even though you're horrible.
Yeah, he's really good at that. I mean, it's also just really well written.
Yeah. He's a very, very good actor, and I just do not understand the Harry Potter performance. I have to believe that was the director making him do things, because that is the worst. It really is one of the worst performances anybody has ever given. I almost walked out of the theater.
Oh, man.
5 minutes into the movie, I was like, what the fuck is this movie? I'm gone. I need to go. And then I convinced myself to stay. But
one of the worst performances that anybody has ever given. That is a fucking strong statement, lady.
I stand by it. I will not watch that movie.
Oh man, it's really like I knew I hated it, but revisiting it with Rashawn, I was like, I can't get over how angry this makes me. Like, it's really irrational. But oh man, my whole body starts to vibrate at a couple different parts where I'm just like, why?
There's even stuff that I like in it, like the Fred and George stuff is great, but my love for the Phelps twins does not supersede how much I hate everything else.
That's fair.
So yeah, I've seen that
somewhere.
movie one time, and then clips of it like as it's on TV, and I'm like, fuck this, no, I can't watch it. So, but this is not the Harry Potter podcast. That's the next one you're doing.
Yeah, and it's not even quite the David Tennant podcast. Eventually it shall be, at least temporarily. So yeah, this episode is the wrap, the finale of this season, and a lot happens.
Yep.
A lot. So, okay, remember how I was like, I mean, all of those Daleks are actual like organic beings inside of suits, so I imagine they must have escaped because they can't just manufacture more of them. Yes, they can.
Kinda.
Apparently. And that is super gross because it turns out that it's like the manufacture of like basically all of the oppressed peoples of the planet. They have collected the dregs of society's cells and selected the best cells out of all of them to make into Daleks. And they is the god Dalek.
The Emperor.
Who is...
He calls himself God, though.
Yeah.
And isn't it implied that they sort of start talking religiously because of the human factor?
Maybe.
The Doctor sort of questioned that?
Yeah, I kind of felt that was what they were implying, but I wasn't sure if I was reading that totally correctly.
That's what I got out of it.
Okay.
Because the Doctor was like, since when do you talk about worship? I don't remember.
Yeah, they use the word
line.
blasphemy, and he's like, that's
blasphemy.
Not something you guys have ever said before.
Yeah. Do you want to do your Dalek impression, but do not blaspheme?
Oh my god. I can't, you guys, I'm still not used to these things, and it just keeps sounding like a joke. The way that, like, I just keep, blasphemy! Blasphemy! Like, it's just so intense that I'm like, you can't be serious. But
I love them. They're so out of control all the time.
I haven't yet posted it in the merch store, but I really need to. I'm going to try and get that done for the new year.
Yeah. That sticker
but, oh my God.
That merch is going to be so good. I can't wait to buy some.
Where is my orange juice? It's such a beautiful little line. And I don't know, there are moments where I'm like, man, I'm really good. But I don't really get to take credit for it sometimes because I don't know where it even came from. I'm like yeah, that one I don't know.
It was
just came from being a server is where that came from.
It was divine.
So yeah, it turns out that he is like able to get over to the ship pretty easily, actually.
Yeah, they like put some force field or something on the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm. I was so confused because, you see them like hit each other because they send out some torpedoes or whatnot, and the whole thing looks like it blew up. And I'm like, well, I know that they're not dead, but you don't see the TARDIS continue flying. You just see the explosion, and then it goes inside to Jack being like, yep, we've got a fully functional force field. And I'm like, but we don't see it from the outside. So do you know what I thought initially? Was that they had like a decoy TARDIS? Like, not even necessarily like an actual one, but maybe like they were projecting
sure, like a hologram?
Illusion. Yeah, and that they were actually inside the real one and they had attacked the fake. But, if it were an illusion, it wouldn't have exploded on impact, I guess. That wouldn't have worked. But yeah, so I was just really misunderstanding everything here. And when they get in there, it's just a really nice little, like, the way that she greets the two of them, you really do believe that she didn't think she was ever going to see them again, you know? And Jack is so happy to see her. And I guess Jack's dead?
Well, she revives him.
Oh, that's right.
But he was dead.
Yeah, that's crazy pants. Like, how did she... Girl.
She had the time vortex in her.
And she... No, I know, like, but I'm just thinking she doesn't remember, right?
No, not really.
That's a shame. That is some shit you want to remember. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you don't. But I feel like I'd want to. Might be a little too much. But I, for a second, was just kind of like, oh shit, is that how they're going to end this season? Is it going to be like a new doctor and then they're going to find a new second companion? Companion 2? That's how I think of Jack. He's like companion squared.
Poor Jack.
A little.
Companion 2.
Yeah, you know. He's fine.
He's fine.
I understand that he's like he's a fan favorite, but he's like, for me, just kind of like, well, I'll take or leave him. If he's there, he's fun. If he's not, I'm like, all right.
I mean, to be honest, I also feel that way. Like, I don't need Jack to be around forever, but I really enjoy when he's there.
That's fair, yeah.
He's just a little brightness. Not that either of the other main characters are dour in any way, but he's just so, like, laissez-faire about everything. I kind of like it.
So you pronounce it dour, too? Because I've always pronounced it dour, and then the last 2 audiobooks I listened to, they said dour. And I don't like dour.
No, I don't either.
But I thought that was like the way, but now that you're saying dour also, I'm kind of like, maybe dour is just like one way of saying it, and people that suck say it that way.
Maybe that's like Matthias and Matthias.
Oh,
fuck
I hate
that
when people say
too.
Matthias. I like Matthias.
Yeah. I mean, I read that book, and I didn't listen to the audiobook, but I pronounced it Matthias in my head, so...
And there's 6 of Crows that I'm covering for Spoil Me, and there's an audiobook that goes with it, and she says Matthias in that, but when I cover it for the show, I call him Matthias. I'm not doing that. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it turns out that the force field like extends outside the TARDIS a little bit too, so that the Doctor can come out and like talk to the Daleks and they can't shoot him.
Yeah.
Which definitely like caught me off guard, because when they just shoot him when he walks out, I was really like, why is he doing? Oh, he's fine. Okay. I had a little moment of panic. And then he meets like a big bad Dalek, and I'm trying to see if it says, nope. Okay. Cause sometimes the Amazon, X-ray, you know how that works? It will give you like the names of the people who do the voices for things, and I don't think they have the voice listed here.
Well, that's weird.
Do you know who does the voice?
I don't. Not offhand. I could look it up.
No, it's fine. It's not important. I was just wondering. And yeah, my ship survived falling through time, and he escapes and is explaining to the Doctor how everything... Oh my God, I forgot. Do not interrupt. Do not interrupt. Oh my God. Oh, that's so funny. Why is that hilarious to me?
They're funny.
Do not interrupt. What is like little petty thing to like get everybody to say to get like... yeah. And then we waited here, damaged but rebuilding. Centuries passed, and we quietly infiltrated the systems of Earth and harvested the waste of humanity. The prisoners, the refugees, the dispossessed. They all came to us. The bodies were filleted, pulped, sifted. The seed of the human race is perverted. Only 1 cell in 1 billion was fit to be nurtured. Yo.
Seems like a lot of work.
Filleted, pulped, and sifted. There go some verbs that I never want to hear used again.
How do they do that with no hands?
I mean...
How do they build a machine to do all this pulping and sifting?
Can't the tentacles like grasp a knife?
I don't know. Those tentacles are never really outside of the armor.
Yeah, that's true. I would think maybe I don't know. Well, guys, I would like for you to take note of this moment when Jaime finds an inconsistency and Natasha doesn't. How about that? Mark it down on your calendars, ladies and gents. It's happening. So yeah, and then this is when he says that, they're talking about blasphemy and that they have been driven mad by their own flesh, the stink of humanity. You hate your own existence, which is a really fucked up, like, that's messed up. Mm-hmm. Can we just acknowledge that? Like, I mean, it makes me think of, like, somebody who's like really racist or homophobic finding out that they got like a donor heart from somebody that they like think is like a subhuman, you know what I mean?
I think that's what should always happen to people like that.
I really like, would that haunt them forever, or would they just rationalize it immediately away? It's just like, well,
I mean, human beings, they would rationalize it away. Well, they died for a reason because they were unpure.
And then God found a better person who was more worthy of that.
Yeah,
heart.
now my blood is purifying it. Some shit.
Gross. Yuck. Yeah, racists are Daleks.
They're like little metal Nazis.
Yeah. Okay, so our fucking Roderick. Can we talk about fucking Roderick here?
He sucks.
I hate him so deeply. He's not even in this episode like that much. And every time he's there, I want to smash his face. Mm. Oh my God. First of all, my name's Roderick. I won the game. Where's my money? And then trying to tell everybody that Jack is lying about the Daleks. Why? Why would he even lie, though, dude? What do you even think he's got to gain by saying that and it not being true? Like,
why did so many people listen to him?
I don't understand. Who is he? He's a nobody.
Yeah.
Is it just because he won the game and now he's got like weird like gamer cred?
Well, you would assume that all the people that were down there on floor 0 had won their games. That's why they're there.
That's true.
So, but why would they believe him saying there's no such thing as Daleks? They were eradicated years ago. And then there's this guy saying, no, there is. And if you stay down here, you're probably going to die. So you can come with us and fight. And they're all like, we're going to listen to that guy who obviously knows what he's talking about when he says there's no Daleks.
Maybe it's, again, like human nature with, I just don't want there to be Daleks because that's super inconvenient to me right now. So I'm just going to listen to this guy who says there aren't any because I prefer that.
Maybe if I stay down here, I'll actually get my money. Like, no, the Daleks have orchestrated this so you guys die in game shows. Like, obviously,
yeah, but money, though.
There's Daleks.
I wonder if the Daleks, like, do they actually pay people out and send them back? Or do people think that somebody wins?
No, they probably all
and
still
they
die.
all just get killed, right?
They just get airlocked.
I feel like they must, right? Like, they're not giving people money. They're not out here with paychecks.
They do look like little coin dispensers, though.
Oh, my God. You think that you're getting a paycheck, but it turns out to just be like a fucking, like a, one of those bubblegum balls. Gumballs.
Then it explodes.
Because they kind of do look like gumball machines also.
Yeah.
Or espresso machines. Mm. Oh, I didn't get my 10 grand, but this latte is excellent. So, this is when the Doctor comes up with the idea for the Delta Ray, which it turns out like does not have any sort of what's the word, discerning like capability.
Right, it'll just kill everything in its path.
Yeah, and that doesn't really get brought to the fore until later, when one of the Daleks is kind of trying to like sabotage everybody's idea of the Doctor by being like, well, look at that. He's just going to kill everybody. Do you still want to follow this guy? And Jack's kind of like, no, that's fine. Which I enjoyed that Jack is like unwavering. Mm-hmm. Basically, there's a part of me that almost wonders if Jack isn't like hey, you know what? Even if I don't agree with the doctor right now, I hate you so much that I'm not going to give you the fucking satisfaction. So I'm going to side with him anyway, just because I hate your smug voice. Which I feel like would be more my position on the thing, because I'm very contrary when I don't like somebody.
I think Jack is just like, this guy's right. He's kind of always right. Mm-hmm. And he's on the side of good. You're clearly on the side of bad. So even if this kills me, I'm still going to fight for what's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that is sort of one of those things, too. Like, if you think that the argument makes sense, but the person who's making the argument tends to be somebody who, you know, like, calls people wastes and murders them in order to reforge their own, like, Holocaust-loving army.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, maybe you want to rethink whether that sounds like the right thing to do or not. That's fair. And they get this whole thing built, and then he is about to head out, and he gives Rose a kiss goodbye, and then he gives the doctor a kiss goodbye right on the mouth.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, Jack. Oh, you.
Such a charmer.
Equal opportunity, and I enjoy that.
Yep.
And Rose says to the doctor, he's going to be all right, isn't he? And the doctor just looks at her, and I'm like, Rose, you sweet summer child. He wouldn't kiss you both like that if he intended to come back.
Jack was a soldier at one point, too. So there's that, too, where he's...
Yeah, that's true.
He's got that mindset of, like, I could die, but I'm going to die fighting. And Rose is just a girl who, you know, worked in a shop. And she's just like, no, everybody has to survive. He's our friend.
And most of the people that she really cares about have survived. Mm-hmm. So I can understand getting a little bit complacent about that and being like, well, things just tend to work out. I don't know.
She probably wouldn't have cared that Linda died.
Which one's Linda?
Linda's the girl with the ponytails.
Oh, yeah, like, because she's all flirty and whatnot.
Yeah, and Rose is like, who's this bitch?
Mm-hmm.
And she just says it with her face and not with her mouth. Like,
bless her for doing that and keeping it to herself.
Yeah.
She's trying to be good. She really is trying to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. You know, like, I feel like we've all been in that position where there's a girl that we've met that we haven't liked immediately, but we are so aware of the petty reasons that we don't like it, that we're judging ourselves and just keeping our mouths shut because we know it's just going to make us look bad.
Right. Like, she could have turned it around on the doctor and been like, oh, what stray did you pick up this time? Like he did with Jack. But she's just like, this girl. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, then we have the scene where Jack goes and like riles up the troops and convinces them, and this one woman steps forward that we wind up seeing get like barbecued later on.
She was one of the game controllers, wasn't she?
Was she?
I think so.
I don't know what she was, but she was a badass and has my respect. Pour one out for the fallen. So yeah, the scene where the doctor is talking with Rose about she's asking him about like what other things they could do to get around this, and he says, you know that we could just leave too. That's an option, that we could just leave this whole place. It's not exactly our problem, and just bail. Mm-hmm. And I love when he says, like, with some admiration in his voice, but that didn't even occur to you. And she sort of like lampshades it a little bit, and it's just like, it's just because I'm so good. And I really enjoyed that she's just like, yes, I am so pure of heart. It never even entered my mind. Oh, Rose, you're fun.
She does suggest going back in time before this stuff happened, before the events that led to the Daleks doing this. Mm-hmm. But the doctor tells her that it's impossible because he would be crossing his own timeline.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So that's an interesting rule. And also, like, you know, well, I'm not even, you know what, I was about to like start some like theorizing, but talking about time travel stuff is always so convoluted that it's better if I just stay away from it because I just confuse myself halfway through my sentence.
Yeah, I love to try to figure it out, and especially figure out the rules, because every time travel story has its own set of rules.
Right.
And they're always different. So sometimes you're like, okay, this is just a big ball of yarn, and it's all knotted up, and I can't figure it out. And sometimes it's like Looper, where it makes a certain amount of sense, which is, I think, why my boyfriend found that movie terrifying. He still says it's like, that's like watching a horror movie. And I'm like, what are you talking? That movie's brilliant. But
it is a good movie, I think. But
yeah, he just, the time travel stuff was so well thought out that he couldn't handle it. It was too real. Like, this could happen. And then there's like, you know, this time travel or Lost, where you're like, it's probably best if I don't put too much thought into it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I find it to be the kind of thing that, like, I'll think that I have spotted a loophole, and I haven't really, and somebody else will explain, like, well, no, that's not how it happened because this, and that. But their complex explanation will be so difficult for me to grasp that I will forget it and then come back and reread it later and be like, but what about this loophole all over again? Like, I just completely lose track of what they tried to explain to me, and so I think that the story doesn't really make sense, and I'm not correct. It's just that I can't fucking, like, keep track of things.
The Doctor has mentioned before that going back into his own timeline, or a timeline that he's been a part of, is dangerous. It happened with Rose's dad. Where, like, them doing that kind of broke time a little bit.
Yeah. There were dragons.
Yep.
You don't want, do you want dragons? Because this is how we get dragons.
I mean, kind of. Not those kind of dragons, but give me like a Drogon. Be all right with it. Or toothless. Love to have a toothless.
Please break time again because I need a pet.
Please give me Toothless, who is the cutest dragon ever.
So this is when he tricks her into getting into the TARDIS. And sends her off, and she thinks that, you know, there's some mistake happening, and then she starts to realize what he did. And the expression on his face when he sends her off is pretty heartbreaking. Like, you know, he firmly believes that he's doing the right thing. And I think really he was, to be honest. But he has this look like that was the worst thing that he's had to do, you know?
He also firmly believes he's going to die. So
which
he's saving her like he promised her mother he would. But he's also going to die. So it's a lot.
And there's no way he could have told her, like, well, I'm sending you because I'm going to die. Like, she'd, of course, want to stay and figure out a way to keep him from dying. So, knowing who he is, that does not, like, who he is and who she is, there aren't a lot of options to save her except for what he wound up doing.
Yeah, I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do and what he should have done.
Agreed.
Because otherwise it was selfish.
Yeah. So there's a, like, recorded hologram of him, and he was prepared for this moment. And, you know, he tells her, I said that I would take care of you, and that is what I am doing. And if I've sent you away, it also means that I am facing an enemy that should never get their hands on this machine, which was another really interesting little tidbit that had not occurred to me. I think that I assumed only he or one of his people could get in there because of, like, you know, he has keys for it. But, like, there's nothing really to support that. That's just sort of a nice idea that it's, like, safe from anybody else tampering with it. But that's not necessarily true.
I think if someone tried hard enough, they would find a way. I also think the TARDIS itself has ways of protecting itself and maybe keeping its door locked. But, you know, given enough time or the right villain.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that's a really scary scenario to imagine this thing falling into the wrong hands.
You don't want the kind of technology that can make something bigger on the inside and also able to go through time and space. You really don't want the wrong people having that.
And
Ugh.
poor Rose, like, she's flipping out and is turning every handle. Like, she's trying to figure out how to turn back. And nothing is working. And when she gets out, she's, like, right near her house. And here's fucking Mickey again, who I never expected to see. I thought after he walked away that he had enough sense to keep walking.
He loves her.
But here he is.
He can't help himself.
Mickey. Guy. You need to talk to somebody about this.
However, I'm always really happy to see Mickey.
Yeah, he's adorable. I really like... And he does, despite her basically being like, there's nothing for me here anymore. And saying probably like the most hurtful thing ever, which is, you are not worth it to me. He still tries to help her and sincerely is trying. Mm-hmm. Which is way more than I would expect from most people, to be honest, after having their heart broken.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So, very admirable and good for him. But also, stop it. That's where I stand on this.
Yeah.
That's where I stood on the, I covered Veronica Mars today, and there's this girl, and I'm going to spoil a show that's very old, so get over it, everybody. But there's this girl whose boyfriend, like, threatens her that if she leaves him, he'll share this video of her that he has. And
oh yeah, that one.
And she tries to like one up him and do all this stuff, and eventually he just shares the video anyway. And she has this whole thing in place that she threatened him with if he did share it for mutually assured destruction. But when he shares it, she decides that she's not going to share her thing because it's not worth it. It's not going to make her feel any better. It's not going to change what happened. And it's not going to change the fact that everybody has seen the damn thing already by now. And while I respect and admire that, you know, that mindset and that like practical sort of like, well, will that really do any good? I also am like, who fucking cares if it does you any good? Fuck his life up.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. So apparently I have some anger issues. And the fact that Mickey is just back here again, just being like, what can I do to help you, Rose? While Rose is like, yeah, well, you know, you're kind of a waste of my time and I don't feel like being here. Like, she's like, damn, this, I like Rose a lot, but man, she is so harsh with him sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, Mickey. Just, you're a sweet little cinnamon roll, and I feel like you need to find somebody else to spend your time with and move on. Somebody that you like better than apparently the girl that you've been seeing, since she is not doing the trick.
Agreed.
But yeah, so he and her mother both are very excited to have her home and try and make it like... They try and treat it like she's just home now forever. And... like her ennui that she's going through is just a phase until she gets used to being home again. But of course, she's freaking out. Mm-hmm. Like she can't get her mind off of it. And her mother says something about how like, well, you know, everything that you're worried about isn't even going to happen for like hundreds of years. But it is though.
Yeah, she says it's happening right now.
Yeah. Which is like such a mind freak.
Yeah. And that's when she notices the words "bad wolf" scrawled on the pavement.
Yeah. Okay. Why would she use the words "bad wolf"?
I don't know. I don't think they ever really explain where she got that from, unless it's that it was Bad Wolf Corporation on that station during this fight, and because of the time vortex that she took on, she was able to scatter those words around.
Okay. I guess I had it backwards, where I thought that like the company being named Bad Wolf was somehow because of the words scattered, but I'm thinking of it the wrong way around.
Yeah, because she's
scattering the words because they use that name.
Yeah, she says, "I am the Bad Wolf. I scattered these words throughout time and history." Mm-hmm. It's kind of a signpost.
That's crazy. That's a cool idea, though. I like that, actually. It's pretty wild, man.
And I
feel so bad for her when she's eating chips with her family, and it's just like, oh, am I just going to be some loser that goes to work and comes home?
It would be hard to go back to that kind of average life.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
totally. I get where she's coming from. Again, it's just like, ouch.
I sympathize with her, and I'm usually almost 100% always on Rose's side, but she could be a little nicer to her loved ones when they're like, but we just are happy to have you home.
Mm-hmm.
You call it traveling. Like, how else are we supposed to think about it? And she tries to tell Mickey, like, you've seen what he can do, but Mickey hasn't traveled with them.
Yeah.
So he really hasn't. He's just seen what happens here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's impossible for them to understand, really, unless they get to go on a trip in the TARDIS themselves.
Right. Oh, yeah, and she tells her mother about her father.
Yeah, about meeting her dad.
And her mother kind of freaks out and, like, runs off. And we wind up, like, seeing that she took it to heart in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But at first, she's just like, you need to stop. And then just leaves because she's getting so upset, which I really understand.
Yeah, I totally understood where Jackie was coming from. And I understand how she would have such a hard time believing. Because, again, she's never experienced what Rose is experiencing. She doesn't quite understand the concept of, like, you can say we travel through time and you don't think about it. Like, what that actually can mean. Especially you don't think, like, well, maybe you could go back and save your dad.
Yeah. I was surprised that she doesn't ask that, actually. Because Rose says, I was the girl that was with him, don't you remember? And I was surprised that Jackie isn't like, well, then why didn't you save him? What? Because I think that she would accept the answer that Rose gives her, which is basically like, we're not allowed to do that. But
I tried and I brought
dragons. I would have asked already. Oh my God. Yeah. Right. Also, I would like to register my shock and horror at the fact that Daleks can just travel in space as they are.
I was thinking about that watching it this time. Like, well, what do they need those ships for then? They're just
that's
floating around in their armor. Why do you need all these little spaceships that look like flying saucers?
Maybe they need to charge their armor up.
Maybe
their armor is like,
they'll have to plug in
Iron Man's suit. Yeah. Needs a little bit of maintenance, repairs and stuff. And they need somewhere that they can just chillax, man. And they have a bar in there somewhere.
Yeah.
What does like a Dalek's free time look like? Oh my God, I just got this mental image of Daleks wearing bikinis in the sun.
There's our next sticker.
Weird bikinis with like a different cup for each node.
Krista might have a hard time drawing that.
Krista, don't attempt this, please. Not only will it be too difficult, but nobody wants to see that. But yeah, so I had forgotten that was a thing, but I just like was going by that section when I saw them all leaving the ship, and I was just like, wait, what? Oh, that's right, I forgot about this.
I read something where it was done in like I don't know when, early 90s or something. There was some special on the BBC or something about like the limitations that Doctor Who had in its original form. And what they would maybe be able to do someday with technology. And one of the things that they were like, maybe someday they'd be able to make Daleks actually flying around in groups. Because everything in the original was very practical. And they couldn't make them float, and they couldn't have lots of them. And it was just sort of one of those things that was thrown out. Like an idea, like maybe someday, who knows? Because even in the 90s, the technology wasn't quite like where they could make it look realistic, I guess.
Right.
And so there's a question of maybe that's why they had that shot of all the Daleks like coming out in a swarm, is because now we can. Look what we can do now with our CGI.
That must be so cool to like live through this change, honestly. You know, we have made such advancements in just like 20 years that living through this period, it must be really exciting to finally get to like do stuff like that you never even considered would be possible within your lifetime, maybe, you know?
I have to say, for something that was filmed in 2005 on probably a relatively limited budget because it was BBC, the Daleks look pretty good in space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did, actually. And there's something about lots of little ones instead of one big ship that's much creepier in a way. Like, it makes you think of insects or something. Yeah. Like a real infestation sort of feeling.
Especially when you think, like, what did he say? How many were in 100,000 inside each of those? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot about how that lady that I said we saw got barbecued. Mm-hmm. They thought the bullets were going to work, and they do not.
Yes, which we know they don't.
Right. Who told her the bullets work?
I think Jack just told them to shoot. And maybe Jack didn't realize that the Daleks all had force fields.
Oh, dear.
Because all they had were these guns and a limited supply of them at that.
I feel bad for this woman because she was one of the first people to step up, or she was the first person to step up and like be like, I'm with you, Jack. And then it turns out that he had wrong information.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I am thinking of a different woman. The one that was the controller is the one who has a conversation with the other controller where he's like, I only took this job to be around you.
Right.
And she also gets barbecued.
Oh my God, there's that great line where she says, is this the part where I'm supposed to say if we live through this, we can go for a drink? And he's like, that would be nice. And she just says, tough.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love you so much right now.
And you're dead.
You're not going to use this to blackmail me into a drink with you goober. But yeah, I forgot about that lady. That's right. That was a good little thing. But yeah, as you say, doesn't matter in the end.
Yep.
All right, so Rose back on Earth is trying to get the Dalek or the TARDIS open, and the car is not proving to be enough. And she's sort of freaking out, like panicking that nothing is going to work. But then her mom comes up with the giant ass like backhoe. What is that thing?
In my notes from the site that I get the plot from, it just calls it a heavy-duty recovery vehicle.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
But it's like a, big construction type vehicle. And she got it from her friend Rodrigo, who owed her a favor.
Don't ask why.
Rodrigo.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, Rose gets in there. And how does she get this to work exactly? What does she do? Do we see it, or
no.
do we just see her like reappear with the Doctor?
Yeah, we see her sort of start taking in. She says it's the heart of the TARDIS. She looks directly at it, and then the next time we see her, she is on the. I don't know how she told the TARDIS. I guess once she takes in all of that energy, she can tell the TARDIS where to go.
Yeah, I guess so. Which is pretty cool. Like, just imagining that she can just like think at it. Mm-hmm. And we do see like all of the power like going in through her eyes. Yeah. But I'm not sure how she like initiated that, exactly how that worked. Because I thought like when that alien woman, the Umbridge. When she winds up having that encounter with the TARDIS, I thought that like the Doctor initiated that for the TARDIS to open up and for her to like get distracted by the light and everything.
He may have,
but
he knows how to control his machine better than Rose does.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, how does Rose know how to open it?
She just knew that it did open because she'd seen it opened, but she couldn't figure out how to get it open. So they, used brute force.
So the backhoe opens the TARDIS, the soul of it up?
It's underneath that console. So, like, there's the console that they control it. And basically what they did was, like, pull the top up and
I misunderstood what was happening there. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, she just needed something strong enough to force it open.
Got you. Okay. I thought that she was trying to open it because it had locked itself against her. But I was misunderstanding like exactly how this was all working. Okay, gotcha.
And it had locked itself against her. Because I'm sure if she pulled enough levers, she'd be able to get it to start going. She might not know how to control it, but she's been in the TARDIS long enough to know to pull levers and push buttons, and she tried all of that. It wasn't working. So she basically wanted to break it open because she knew,
Gotcha.
you know, I've seen what happens when, you know, it's open. I don't know how she knew that this was going to work. I think she was just willing to try anything.
Yeah, at that point. Why
And she
not?
certainly didn't know that looking right into the time vortex was going to basically kill her from the inside.
Yeah. Although she was like so desperate at that point that even if she knew that, I'm wondering that she wouldn't have done it anyway. Kind of feel like she might have.
She probably would have.
You know? So just as she's taking in all of that power is when we see Jack. I love this moment when they yell exterminate and he just says, I kind of figured that. He's so resigned.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy the effect of whenever they shoot that you get to see a skeleton.
Yep.
There's a little X-ray moment. It's pretty fun. So yeah, the Daleks like bust in as the Doctor is like trying to finish creating his thing, and he is surrounded by them, and has accepted death pretty much, and sort of closes his eyes, and then you hear the whooshing sound, and here comes Rose, and the Doctor is very agitated to see her return. This is not how things are supposed to go. And when the doors open, this like blinding light comes out at first. And then when she steps out, there's all these tendrils and it looks bananas. I really enjoyed this. And he is like, what did you do? And she tells him and he's like, oh, fuck. This is the abomination. Exterminate. And she just puts up a hand and stops their light beam.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty badass. I am the bad wolf. I create myself. I take the words. I scatter them in time and space. And I liked this, what do you call it? I liked this monologue. And I liked the way that she delivered it.
Yeah.
A message to lead myself here. And she like moves her hand and takes the Bad Wolf logo off the wall, which I'm not really sure why she does that, except to just be like, you know, I guess we're done with this. Yeah. But I like the idea of her just defacing all of the Bad Wolf company property.
Well, and also like, 'cause she can.
Yeah, I want there to be from now on in the TARDIS like an unlimited supply of Bad Wolf logo pens and like weird, you know, like those beer cozies, just that weird crap that you get when you start at a new corporate job and they give you all this like useless junk with their logo on it.
Little stress balls.
Yeah, you know, a bunch of stress balls, maybe like a bottle opener or, you know, just one of those weird, like fun gift packs, you know, some letterhead stationery.
Here's your Bad Wolf entry package.
Exactly. Welcome to the team. I see you and I see every atom of your existence and I divide them. Is that the raddest thing in the world?
Yes.
I love that. When she did that, I was like, oh, snap. And I divide them. That's pretty awesome. They all just vanish. Mm-hmm. They all just melt away.
That's when she brings the Captain Jack back to life.
Well, first she has to deal with the big one that's saying that he cannot die. Which I'm like, how did you just see that happen and you are that arrogant that you keep saying that you cannot die? How? yeah, he's gone. Guess what? You can.
Yeah.
Bye. What?
Yeah. Well, that is just arrogance in a nutshell. Like,
I cannot die. What? Dude.
yeah,
And yeah.
he says he's immortal, right?
Something like that, yeah. Oh my God. And when she brings Jack back, and then Doctor's like, you can't control life and death. And she's like, yeah, I can. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know, I definitely can. I don't think that's what he meant. I think it was more the may not rather than the can. It's a very English teacher moment.
It's the should not. He's dead. You probably should not bring him back, no matter how much you like him.
Whoopsies. And then comes the lamest moment in the entire show so far, where he says, doesn't it hurt? And she says, my head is killing me. And he says, sounds like you need a doctor. And I almost threw my remote control across the room. I snorted loud enough that my cat sitting on my lap looked at me in irritation.
It's amazing how they can go from a really good speech to, like, the daddest dad joke.
You guys.
Yeah.
It sounds like you need a doctor. And then he kisses her. And for a moment, I was just kind of like, oh, no. But then it turns out he kissed her to get the power from her, which, like, you know, also you want the kiss just for the sake of it. And it, like, not really because I want them to be together at all, but just because I know that, like, he cares about her. So there's a part of me that's kind of like, well, all right, maybe he's expressing how he feels about her. And maybe, like, she'll be like, well, no, dude, I'm not really, nah. But at least it's out there now. But it really is for the taking in of the power, which was a kind of nice little surprise there. They tricked me. Meanwhile, Jack's stumbling around in his leather pants.
It bummed me out that the TARDIS is going away when he makes it into the room, and he's just like, okay. Then what happens? They just left him there.
He looks like he's sort of, I don't want to say accepting of it, because that's not right, but more like, all right, what's next? Like, I think he's figuring out a way that he can get back in touch with them somehow.
I hope so. How is he going to time travel?
I don't know what that even looks like. Right? Like, and also, you know, if he does ever track them down, which I anticipate he will, it won't be the same Doctor anymore.
Nope.
And I'm very curious how he will get along with the new one.
I wonder if he will give David Tennant a little smooch.
Oh, snap. Maybe David Tennant will be a little bit more receptive to the whole thing.
Maybe. He's very saucy.
What's up? I was going to take you so many places. Barcelona. Not the city Barcelona, but the planet Barcelona. Fantastic place. They've got dogs with no noses. Why in the fuck would you want to go to a place that has dogs with no noses?
I just want to know what that looks like.
Who is that for?
Do they all just breathe out of their mouths? They have to pant all the time.
I think the worst part of a dog is its nasty ass breath. Get rid of its mouth or something, like, or its dog breath or its drool. Don't get rid of its cute little nose. What are you fucking psychopaths? It's like, oh, we have all these cats, but none of them have fat bellies. Like, well, way to just ruin it.
None of them have those cute little toe beans.
Right, yeah. Oh, did you see the thing today of the cat that was born with 24 toes?
No, but I need to.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so crazy, but there's lots of extra toe beans. And it looks weird, but it's so fluffy and soft that it's still cute, even though it's weird. But yeah, it was was it 24? I think it was an extra one on each foot. It might have been 26.
Yeah, because there's lots of cats that have extra one on each foot.
Yeah, it was all, it looked like a little it looked like Photoshop, to be honest. Like, I had to, like, click through it and read the whole thing before I was willing to believe it, because I just figured somebody had Photoshopped a cat's toes, because that wouldn't be hard. But no, it is true. And I just can't imagine once the cat is full grown, like, how crazy that's going to look. But anyway, this is not cat talk. It should be. I should have a fucking cat podcast where I'm just like, did you see this picture of this cat?
It would be very interesting to people. You could do it as a YouTube channel.
Yeah, too much work.
Yeah. But if you're going to be like, did you see this picture? You kind of have to show it. It doesn't really work on radio.
I guess. I'll do a crowdcast where I screen share, and it's just going to be me screen sharing my Facebook feed as I look through it, and me reacting, going, look at this, oh my God.
Mine would just be random cute animals. Here's an otter, and here's a seal, and here's a fox that looks like a loaf.
Oh, fox loaves. That's good stuff. That's quality content.
Yep.
Also, I'm a big fan of the baby pigs.
Oh, yeah.
I shared one today. Dogs with no noses. What a crazy...
Animals need their noses. That's often the cutest thing about them.
And then he says, imagine how many times a day you end up telling that joke and it's still funny. What joke? What is he even talking about?
Maybe on his planet, his home planet, jokes are different than on Earth.
Oh, God.
I don't understand your space humor.
That was painful. Jaime. Maybe on his planet, jokes are different. Yep, that's it.
On his planet, jokes are not funny.
Oh, God. Right? So yeah, this is when he tells her, maybe you'll see it, and maybe I will even, but not like this. And this is when he tells her that we have a way of cheating death, but it's a little bit of a dodgy process, and you never know what you're going to end up with. And, yeah, he winds up... How does he... I'm going to watch this again, because I forgot exactly how this goes down. Because we have Rose, and he says, before I go, I want to tell you, you were fantastic. And I was like, oh, it really, like, killed me a little bit. He was so sweet here. And I got a little bit of the actor I felt like coming through as well. Because this is him saying goodbye to her, you know?
Yeah.
And he says, and you know what? So was I. And I was like, oh, you had to ruin it.
But that is so very him.
It is, yes. So then all of this light comes out of his black leather jacket and his black leather sleeves. And then all of a sudden, here is David Tennant saying, hello, okay, and feeling his
new teeth. That's weird.
Oh, that's right. Barcelona. And she's just standing there looking at him like,
She's just like, what the fuck just happened? Because the doctor doesn't explain it. He's just like, it's a dodgy process. You never know what you're going to get. It's not going to be me. He doesn't say, like, I regenerate into a totally different looking person.
This really reminds me of, there's a point in Dresden Files where, like, they're trying to get a straight answer out of him on what his plan is for this, like, battle they're walking into. And he keeps giving them these, like, cryptic non-answers. And finally, like, Murphy says something like, you just love not telling us what's happening, don't you? And he says, it's like heroin. And I feel like that with the doctor a little bit. Like, he just really likes fucking with people and not telling them everything that's going on, and then watching their shock and awe as he does some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Which I respect, because I think I would also be the biggest drama queen in the entire world if I were able to do this kind of shit. Forget it. I would be insufferable. I am not the kind of person that should have power. Like, I would be like the textbook case of like, no, bad plan. Like,
yeah, you say that a lot.
It would be real
At least
bad.
you know
I just
it
know
about
myself. Yep. It'd be no good. Oh man. There's just this, another book that I'm covering for,
oh my God, you're
Spoil Me.
Galadriel.
Ah! Oh my God, I am Galadriel. Things that were, things that are,
Things that
and some things
have not yet come to pass.
Oh, her eyebrows in that scene are so good.
I will
Just looking
remain
at him like,
Galadriel.
I'm going to pour this water so slow and just keep eye contact the whole time and really disconcert you.
Someone on my Facebook feed today, I took one of those dumb quizzes that, like, just tells you, like, what character you are in all these different fandoms. And for Lord of the Rings, it said I was Gandalf, which, I'm sorry, I'm a Hobbit. Let's just make that clear. I can't remember who it was. I think it was my friend Doug was like, it's pretty strange that, I mean, you're obviously Galadriel. And I'm like, I'm a Hobbit.
Why?
I am not an elf.
Because Galadriel's a pretty girl and you're a pretty girl?
I don't know.
Is that what it is?
God, if I only looked like Kate Winslet, Kate Blanchett.
Blanchett.
Winslet would be fine too, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I don't know what gave you the impression that I am anything like Galadriel. I am clearly a hobbit that likes to sit around and eat and maybe smoke some weed.
Same. Finest weed in the South Farm. Whatever it is he says. But yeah, same. I always used to be like, I want to be an elf. And it took barely like 2 years before I was like, what was I thinking?
Too much running around and shit. Like, no, I'm lazy.
Too much dignity. Like who that's so much effort for what? So that you can impress all these fucking random like humans?
I mean, Legolas is impressive, but I'd rather just watch him do what he does.
What does it get him?
not have to put forth all that effort. I don't want to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow.
Yeah, no. I want a
tree to carry me around places.
Little vegetable patch. I want a tree to carry me places. I don't think that comes standard with the Hobbit package.
I don't know.
I think
want
that's
that
an
upgrade.
add-on. Oh, that's funny though.
I have a couple of things, and then I have some questions from the audience for you.
Okay, please.
So,
hit me up.
Russell T Davies, who was the showrunner, he wanted Eccleston's departure to be a complete secret. But the BBC, after the broadcast of The Unquiet Dead, which is the 3rd episode, their press office announced that Eccleston was leaving at the end of the season. And then, a couple weeks later, announced that David Tennant was going to be the Doctor. So they took away the whole surprise for the audience.
Wow, that's some shit.
Yeah. So that had to, like, really suck, especially for Eccleston, because he was only on the one season. Like, you ruined, like, the one thing I had here. It was, like, my surprise departure.
That's, like, this is the kind of thing that makes me realize, like, how when we talk about, like, oh, I'm so bad at adulting, nobody is good at adulting. Because there's this, like, multi-million-dollar company that has a hugely public television show, and they can't even get their fucking, like, information straight to know not to do this kind of stupid shit. Which, this is basic stuff. Don't spoil the rest of the season. That's not really asking for very much. Good God.
So
that's so inexcusable. Ugh, I'm disgusted.
They tried to, like, there were, like, rumors going around that I guess they had filmed a scene where it was Rose who, like, Rose died or something. As sort of and it was never shown anywhere, but the information was out there that it had been filmed to try to maybe make people believe that Eccleston wasn't leaving and that Billie Piper was.
Oh, okay.
But that footage has never been released of that scene that they shot, which I think is for the best because we don't need to see that. Another thing is that the kiss between Jack and the Doctor is the first time there was a same-sex kiss featured on Doctor Who.
Oh, okay, cool.
And this is the first time that the Doctor or any Time Lord has been seen regenerating standing up. Previous Doctors collapsed before regenerating.
Interesting.
They probably didn't have the technology to do it the way that they could do it now. And so they had to have the Doctor collapse, and then when he stands up, it's someone new.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the stand-up effect because of how weird it looks. Because you would expect him to collapse. Like, that's kind of what I thought would happen.
Yeah.
Or that it would be like a weird, like, he disappears and his clothes fall to the ground, like Obi-Wan style. And then something, like, appears in his clothes and reinflates them from the inside.
That would be terrible.
It would be like blowing up one of those, like, front lawn Christmas things that has the fan in it.
One of those like, fluffy arm things.
Yeah, exactly. And they have a light inside, too, so you could just use
Can that be our next
I think I
merch
figured
thing?
this
Is
out.
the Doctor's face on one of those fluffy arm things?
That has to exist, right? There has to be, like, a front lawn, like, Doctor Who.
I doubt it.
Like, blow-up thing. Oh, I bet you there is.
I will Google. You're not allowed to.
I'm not even sure what those are called.
I don't know. I'm imagining putting in Doctor Who flappy arms might not bring back some good results.
But yeah, that was what I was picturing. So, like, when he was standing and then just starts glowing, I was like, oh, this is new. Like, never even occurred to me.
I like that it almost gives the effect that he was, like, burning up from the inside and had to, like, reform.
And just, like, sort of still feels like it's involving the TARDIS influence.
Yeah. Okay. Questions from the audience.
Do it.
Linda Dunian. How do you say her last name? Dunian?
I say Dunyan.
Dunyan?
Yeah.
Dunian, like an onion. Sorry, Linda. Well, you kind of talked about the kiss. She said that she felt it was totally out of character. And she personally felt it was clunky and unneeded. So, do you think that it was out of character or fitting with the story?
I thought you meant the Jack and Doctor kiss, but you're talking about the Doctor and Rose kiss, right?
If you take aside the looks like you need a doctor line. Ignore that. Just the fact that he kissed her, did that feel like it was in or out of character to you?
I felt like it was... I felt two things simultaneously. One, that it was a little out of character for the Doctor. I'm sorry, I cannot separate it from the you need a doctor line. That's not possible. But I do think that it makes sense as a means of, like, taking the power out of her, only because of, like, how many different things we've seen in magic and in fandoms where a kiss, like, does something like that. Like, even the Dementors take your soul out of your body with that, you know, like, through your mouth. So in that respect, it's fine, but they could have approached it so that he's still, like, doing mouth-to-mouth contact, but it's not, like, a romantic vibe to the kiss at all, and more of a, like a horrifying Dementor-style sucking, which I say that I would prefer, but now that I say it, I don't know that I do.
I honestly did not find it to be romantic. I never interpreted it that way.
Okay.
I think, like you said, there's enough instances in other fantasy, other forms of movies and media where that is the way to, I don't know, sometimes it's to wake someone up or whatever. Somehow a kiss seems to be the thing that maybe is the easiest to portray the contact or the intimacy you need to have in order to help someone in that way. So I always looked at it like he was doing this because this was the way it had to be done. Not because it was romantic, because I never really bought any kind of romantic anything between the Doctor and Rose.
I didn't want there to be, but I felt like they kept dropping hints that he was, like, jealous of Jack.
Yeah,
you know?
I also always
like,
took that as a, like, he kind of just wanted her attention to himself.
Yeah, I can see that. He's just really self-centered.
Yeah. Brenton Harsh wants to know, what was your favorite and least favorite story of the season? I
did really like Unquiet Dead, weirdly. as much as like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, there was just something really fun about it and a little spooky. And also it was Christmassy.
Yeah.
And I'm always a fan of that. So it's like one of the first ones too, where like Rose is just starting to like get her feet under her with all of this stuff. So I do enjoy that. But probably the one with her dad, if you take away the time dragons, is probably like really my favorite one. Least favorite. Is there one that you remember me tearing apart in particular?
I think neither of us were really big fans of World War III or not Daleks, Aliens in London.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, that's probably the weakest one.
Like when she comes back, when the female alien shows back up, that I didn't mind as much.
Yeah, because she by herself is very fun.
But that two-parter is definitely my least favorite of the season. Plus, it's like so much fart jokes. Like too much of that. It's just I guess like I'm all for a good fart joke now and then. Don't get me wrong, but it just felt really extremely juvenile. Like it was playing to the kids instead of playing to a more rounded audience.
Get it? Because they were all heavy also.
Round. Those bellies. Do you like or dislike that the Doctor isn't your typical action hero and that violence is not his first option, and the fact that he doesn't have a weapon? This is also from Brenton.
I like it, but it is kind of crazy that he doesn't have a weapon. Like, that's just kind of crazy. Am I wrong?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
I like that he's not, but I feel like at least having, I guess, you know what? He has that screwdriver. So you know what? That kind of counts. So that's fine.
He prefers to use his brains over bullets, basically.
Yeah, and the screwdriver is more of a, like, it will help me cope with whatever situation, and more than just dealing with, like, you know, defending myself physically. It can help me, like, get out of prisons or, you know, melt iron bars very, very slowly. So, yeah, I think that I prefer that, and I like the fact that, that because he's not going to all of these places to cause trouble. No. He's just going around wherever the TARDIS tells him to go. And he often does run into trouble, but he's not like being sent places to fuck people up. So, yeah, and I like that because that's a little bit boring, right? After a point.
Well, it depends on
if
all you do is go and fuck shit up and fight, I think that would be really boring. Yeah.
So, yeah, I prefer this version.
Okay. Yeah. Sarah McDougall wants to know how you felt about the regeneration idea. She said that she didn't know anything about old Doctor Who when she started watching this, so she didn't get the regeneration at first. She didn't really...
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's hard for me to answer that one because I knew about it so long ago that I don't have like a fresh perspective the way that I might have, but like, because I think it's a really interesting idea just to have like a basically ongoing character that other actors replace. I mean, there's not really another show that does that kind of thing.
No, not outside of soap operas where they just recast.
Right, yeah. Or if you have like a character who always has a secretary and they just like get a new secretary or a new, you know, like a side character who has a particular position and they recast them all the time and they still function in the same way within the universe. That I guess counts. But yeah, this is a whole different thing where it's he says, what were we talking about? Oh, right, Barcelona. So he keeps his memories and everything
he's
well.
Still the same person. He just has a different outside. And we'll see if that also translates to different personality traits, different demeanor, you know, whatever. I have, at this point, this was all the Doctor Who I'd seen, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if every regeneration of a Doctor has a different way of behaving. But that's also an interesting factor where you're like, you're still the same person in your brain, but somehow maybe different, not just outside, but personality-wise. I think it's a really clever way of keeping the show going.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that I think they did it originally just out of necessity, because I think that William Hartnell, who played the first Doctor, wanted to leave, but the BBC didn't want to end the show.
Right. Well, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I figured that was probably something like that. Like somebody decided they were going to bounce right away, and they were like, "Oh, okay, I guess we need to change like the whole vibe of this." And once you decide you're going to do that, you do have the ability to make your show last for like 27 seasons.
Yeah, it's endless possibilities. So, you could have a new Doctor every season, or you could have a new Doctor every 10 years. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have a lot of perspective in terms of like being surprised by it in concept, but I can say that I like it. And I thought that it was a cool idea when I heard about it the first time.
Do you wish that we had longer with the Eccleston Doctor? Is Sarah's second question.
Yeah, probably. I'd be interested to see him grow, you know, because he can be such a dick. But I also like that about him. And I just like Eccleston. He's just, for me, a good time. I wish. But at the same time, excuse me, at the same time, I do want to see how the mechanics of this work. So I also am glad that he's already gone, so that I get to find out pretty soon how this all like functions. So there's that.
Okay. Megan Elizabeth wants to know who you thought was like the best and worst villain, best and worst side character.
Can we, what is his name? Randolph in this one? The one that wants his money? He's the worst villain.
Roderick?
No, I'm just kidding. Roderick.
I had to think for a second. What was his name?
He's the worst. I'm trying to think who, because so many like don't seem like they're going to be a villain right out of the gate. I really did hate that American guy though that was like collecting shit. Oh my god.
I really did.
Unthinkable face. I don't know what was happening there.
Unthinkable face.
So yeah, I think probably like he's the worst because he's just like, you know, the actor was just incredibly off-putting. The character himself is everything that you like hate about society, right? And the like arrogance of him and everything is like so like just so frustrating to watch, and he's like paired with that like really stupidly over the top like ruthlessness that's not really even necessary. You know, where he's just like, oh, really? We'll kill that guy and hide the body and whatever, you know, like for nothing. And you're just like, why though? What is this doing? For what good is this even for you?
I'm just trying to figure out how to make money off of space artifacts is just vile anyway. Especially when you're collecting all of these, like, you know, you've got a living creature, Dalek or not. You still have a living creature that you're torturing.
Yep. Yeah, he's like a colonizer.
Yeah.
But like space-wise.
Space colonizer.
Yeah. So yeah, he's the worst villain, I think. The Daleks are too funny for me to like hate.
That makes them the best villains.
Yeah, like it's just, yeah, are they preying on the weak and defenseless and morphing them into monsters? Yes. Is that terrible? Sure, valid. But also, they're hilarious.
And best villain doesn't have to be like the villain you see their side.
Right, that's true. Not most relatable villain.
It's just like, who would you want to see again? Like, would you be mad if the Daleks pop up again? I wouldn't.
No. Come on. And they have to, right? Like, they'll be around again. I mean, it's not like did she dissolve all of them? Like, what did she do exactly?
Don't know.
We didn't see.
I mean, she she split their atoms, but who knows? These ones, the Doctor thought they were all gone, and then there was one in a bunker in Utah, and then there's all of these ones that were like falling through time or something.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Well, and like if she splits their atoms, but they're able to like fillet
get
and
into that
pulp
sifter and get back
sift.
together.
Yeah, I feel like that's not exactly going to be a problem long term.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
So is it worst villain, favorite villain? What was the other one?
Best and worst side characters?
Best and worst side characters. So best, I have to say, is probably like Rose's mom.
Okay.
I love her mom. I think she's great. Like she could easily have been such a joke.
Yeah.
And I really thought that's what they were doing at first. And then they actually made her like, you know, specifically intelligent in her way, but also throwing herself at Eccleston the first time he shows up, which is deeply relatable. And I just really enjoy her.
There's a man in my hallway.
Anything could happen. No. And worst is definitely the guy whose brain got opened up.
Right.
I hate him so much.
I was trying to think of who I
much.
would consider the worst side character, and I think that's probably correct. Best, I have a much longer list, though. Because I love Jackie, I love Mickey, and I love Jack, but I also really enjoyed Pete Tyler, Rose's dad.
Oh, okay,
I really
yeah.
liked
I guess
him.
he does count as a side character. I always think if it's like only one episode, he doesn't count, but that counts. That's fine.
He's memorable. Like, that episode's really good, and also, I just remembered that character really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before rewatching for the first time, I still was like, oh, of course, I remember Pete. So he made an impression.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. He's a good one. I'm trying to think if there was another side character like that I really hated. But that guy really was like the one.
Yeah, I also just really didn't like those aliens that took over London, but
yeah, that was no good.
I
agree. When I think about the fact that that was a two-parter, it was really not worth
it really wasn't.
How dare
Why can
they?
I not think of their names right? Oh, the Slitheen. That's what they're called.
It turns out to be a really good thing that we covered them in one shot the way that we did.
That was
a good
fortuitous. Megan's other stuff we kind of covered. She wanted to know about like what your idea of regeneration was, what you knew ahead of time, stuff. We already covered all that. Mm-hmm. And then Simone Solar wants to know if there's anywhere you want to see the Doctor and Rose go in the next season.
That's a tough one because there's so much that like they wind up going places that I never even like thought of or would know about or conceive of.
Well, then we can simplify it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right.
Got something caught in my throat. If they could go into the past, like where in history would you want to see? Sorry.
I think, where would I want to go? Like, there's a lot of stuff that's tempting, but that I'm also like, yeah, that could really kind of go in an ugly direction, though. Or I'm like, well, it'd be cool to go to, like, Egypt. And then I'm like, oh, do I want to see a bunch of, like, white British actors in makeup to look Egyptian? I'm not sure that this is something that I'm interested in.
I think we're in modern enough times that might not happen.
You can't totally bank on it, though.
True.
You know? I honestly can't think of any time during history that I want to see more of because most of it's terrible.
Okay.
So I'll leave that up to their discretion because if they come up with a good enough storyline, then anywhere is going to work out. And there's not a particular time that I'm like excited about because mostly I'm just thinking about all the ways that that could go terribly, terribly wrong. So I have too much baggage to answer this question.
The last one is from Kat. She actually was the first one to answer, but I saved it till last. She wants to know if you weren't watching this for the podcast, would you care enough to watch the next series?
maybe. It's the sort of thing where it's like, I have and I've talked about this before, that like I watch so much really like deeply draining and on an emotional level stuff for the show, that having a good cache of like goofy stuff to watch in my downtime is really helpful, because I need a break from all of the really fucking draining stuff. So in that respect, I feel like I might continue watching, just because I'm like, well, I'm curious and this tends to be pretty fun. And, but I don't feel like I'd necessarily be like, oh, I can't wait to find out what happens next, because it tends to, you know, you face an enemy and then you win the day and then you go to the next place. Which that's how like a lot of shows like this are, you know, it's not unusual in that, but it is fairly predictable, and the stories are so self-contained from one episode to another. And there isn't like necessarily a huge arc, that it doesn't draw me to the next one the way that a show with a long continuing storyline would.
Okay.
So yeah, I think so, but it probably would be like a really slow, infrequent process. The kind of thing where I would like watch a few and then fall off and then be like, oh yeah, I haven't watched that in a while, and watch a few, you know. It wouldn't be like I'd sit down and binge it all.
Okay. It's fair.
No.
I had because I did binge this, like the first, how many seasons did we do? I think it was like the first 4 seasons. My friend and I binged over a couple week period. So I literally finished this episode and was like, we need to start the next one right now, because I could not wait.
Yeah, I could see like after this one.
Yeah. And I think I was really enjoying the show up to that point, and I really liked Eccleston, and I knew I hated David Tennant, so I was dreading it. But as soon as he won me over with a stupid line about the new teeth, I was like, we need to go on to season 2 right now. I cannot wait. I need to see more of him.
Yeah, that new teeth is pretty funny. What a weird, like, I just enjoy that. Like, it's not arms or legs, the things that you would expect when they're new for you to, like, notice. It's the teeth, which, yeah, you know, that would throw you off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, when you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. But he plays it so, like, new teeth, that's weird. It's like, it's not the first time you've regenerated. You should be expecting this, and yet...
I wonder if there's an inside joke there. If, like, David Tennant, like, had just gone to the dentist a couple days earlier, and he was like, what if? Because my teeth are fucking awful, and I am having the worst time with them. And I would love a new set. So can we, like, put that in there somewhere? And they're like, yeah, all right, that's weird. It's just weird enough. I love it.
I will tell you that David Tennant was a massive Doctor Who fan. Like, wrote...
Oh, yeah, I think I remember hearing that.
He wrote fan letters when he was a kid to the BBC. Like, he grew up just a massive fan of Doctor Who. And so getting to play the Doctor was something that he never had dreamed would be possible. And I think that will play a factor into how he plays the role, because he loves everything about Doctor Who.
That's really adorable.
Yeah. He's a precious cinnamon roll. I love him.
That's really fun. Yeah, what a weird idea, too, that there's like a fan series that's so old and continuing that you watched it as a kid and are eventually old enough to be in it. Like, that's just...
Yeah.
That's something.
And I think he probably thought it was never going to be something he could do, because the show had been off the air for quite a long time before it came back in 2005.
Huh. That's
so
cool.
I love when people get to, like, fulfill a dream.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God. It's like if I got to, like, you know, play Hermione's mom or something in, like, the remake of the thing, I'd just be like, oh my God, I'm in a Harry Potter remake.
Like Evanna Lynch and how much she loved Harry Potter.
Yes. Yeah, she's good people. She understands. Yeah. She's in the same place as us fans. She knows.
So we have a couple reviews. I'll save them for next time. I just want to let you guys know I see them. We got them, but we've gone pretty long, and Natasha has to get to her next recording.
Yes, I'm doing Harry Potter in like half an hour. So, But yeah, guys, if you are not a patron yet, you should become a patron because the Harry Potter reread has restarted. And I know that you are going to miss it if you don't join us.
Harry Potter and this bitch.
Harry Potter and this bitch. So yeah, guys, go to patreon.com/unspoiled if you're interested in becoming a patron. And you know where to find us otherwise. Patreon.com, or no, I just did that one. Facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter @unspoiledshow, Instagram @unspoiledpodcast, unspoiledpodcast.com. And if you're interested in commissioning me to read something specific or watch something specific, you can go to unspoiledpodcast.com/shop. And by the time you all are finally listening to this, the prices will have gone up. So my apologies because you didn't get more warning.
They had plenty of warning.
There it is. They had warning. It was fine. But yeah, I have been having a very brisk trade in the old commission business. And I am just so grateful that everybody has picked such excellent stuff for me to review because I have not come across a single clunker yet. So that's cool.
You guys have good taste.
Yeah, thank you all for that. Appreciate it. Because, you know, that was something that I had a little bit of trepidation about. I'm not
I
gonna
was
lie.
for sure convinced that you were going to have to read so many terrible books.
Yeah, I kind of expected some people to, like, pick some bad stuff just for the fun of it. You know, some really awful fan fiction or, like, I don't know,
have
like
nice listeners who don't want to torture you.
I have a feeling that me just saying that right now, though, somebody is firing up their old keyboard and getting in there with some weird, like, 50 Shades, like, spin-off shit.
Can we commission fanfic, though?
You can commission literally anything. Like, I have the right to say no to anything if it contains material that I really, like, object to in some way. But I don't have a particular rule about, like, you know. So, yeah, if there's a fanfic that you want and you feel like paying that money for me to read it and tell you how much I hate it and you, by all means.
No, I don't read bad fanfic. I don't read fanfic very much, if ever, anymore. But there was one really exceptional Harry Potter fanfic that I read that was written between Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix. And I recently was reminded of it and found it online and have been working my way through rereading it. And it's really interesting what they thought was going to happen.
Interesting. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because it was like between, so they didn't know.
It's called After the End. So it actually takes place after the final battle. But it's really interesting to see, and it was co-written by two girls, and to see like what they thought was going to, the end was going to be, and like here's what we think would be later.
Right.
It's pretty great. But if, you know, you can see how it was written before Order of the Phoenix, because there are certain characters in it that don't make it through that book.
Sad. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for listening. I hope that y'all have a lovely holiday.
Right. We will not have a episode next week, right? Because of Christmas.
It's true. I am taking a week off. It's absolutely thrilling. I can't tell you all how excited I am about it, which is part of why I booked myself for like 6 recordings today so that I could have it done before the vacation began.
Well, and we're recording today because you took yesterday off to spend time with your man, which was very important.
And we went to the Arboretum and they had the 12 Days of Christmas display and it was the best.
Yeah, it was neat.
So yeah, everybody, have a lovely holiday. And you also, Jamie, have a lovely holiday.
Thank you very much.
And we will see you in 2 weeks with a new episode.
Bye.
And season 2. Ooh. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.